Welcome in, everyone. I'm Owen Gund here with the DWC show, and today we have our special guest, Christina Buravtsova. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Christina is quite the world traveler. I'm going to list the countries she's been to. Here we go. Mexico, Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Cuba, the Bahamas, Honduras, Costa Rica, Egypt, Turkey, Italy, Spain, France, Greece, Switzerland, Russia, and Britain. Just to name a few. Now that's quite a lot of countries, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So, of all those experiences, can you tell me about one or two that maybe stood out to you?
Well, I think the one that personally stood out to me the most was a trip I took with my mom to Italy a year ago. And it was to Lake Como, and I thought it was the most beautiful lake I'd ever seen. So it's basically located in North Italy where the Italian Alps are, and it crosses over to Switzerland. And along the coast are picturesque houses all over the coast. And it's so beautiful because they're all different colors. And it's surrounded by these gorgeous mountains. And just the culture is phenomenal in that area. It was just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And we took a boat trip and the water was so crystal clear. It was just perfect.
Oh my gosh, just a lot of colors. It's really cool to imagine. Well, you mentioned your mom here.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you've gone on all these trips with your parents. Can you tell me a little bit about how these trips have helped your relationship evolve with your parents?
Well, first of all, my parents have always had a deep love for traveling. My father was a diplomat, so he traveled a lot. And he kind of carried that passion on to my mom. And then they eventually carried that passion on to me, and I fell in love with traveling. And we would travel together to all these different countries. We would go on cruises and whatnot. It was just crazy. And I've had so many good memories with them. It's something that we can share for the rest of our lives together.
Yeah, and now not only you have these shared experiences with them, but you also have these memories that you can share with the world. What are some takeaways from these experiences that you hope to share with people from your hometown?
Well, I think it's really important to include all these different cultures in American society. It's just so important because all these cultures are so unique and have something to bring into the arts, into the sciences. It's just so important to incorporate all the countries' beliefs and all their cultures and their colors. And it's just so important because it's really a beautiful aspect, and that's really important to, make people develop.
Yeah. A good takeaway indeed. We can bring other cultures and make them more present in our own country because there's certainly a lot we can learn from them. Well, Christina, thanks so much. I really appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
That's a wrap, folks.
Hi, I'm Christina Buravtsova, and I'm here with Amanda Nadel, a high school senior who presents a heartfelt story of how she overcame a vulnerable and hard time in her life with her love of tennis. Thank you for coming on the show today, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure. So, Amanda, I know that you've told me that you've only recently started playing tennis just a year ago, and you've already developed such a love for the sport. So, can you tell me what originally prompted you to start the sport?
Yeah, of course. So, I actually started tennis in 9th grade by only playing lessons. And before that, in 8th grade, I wasn't playing a sport. I used to play volleyball, actually. But I wasn't really into it, so I decided to not play anymore. And I wasn't doing a sport at the time, and my parents suggested that I should start tennis. So they signed me up for lessons, and I actually really grew to like the sport. But I was too scared to actually play on a team because I'm very afraid of judgment and people making me feel inferior. So I just chose to stay on the sides for a while, and then I eventually joined the sport this past year.
Yeah, and I see that it turned out to be a great decision for you joining the sport because can you tell us some of the things that you gain from, joining the sport?
Yeah, of course. So I really loved playing the sport because I was really in a sad time of my life. There was a lot going on with some friendships in school, and I felt really alone. So being on a team and having comfort from other people there was so wonderful for me, and I just felt so appreciated, and people cared about me, and that was something that I really valued. And also making new friendships with people of all different ages. I'm really close with a girl who's right now going to be a sophomore, and I'm going to be a senior, and I just love that. And I love the team that we have. It's only like 7 people, and the tight-knit community is so important to me.
Yeah. So you originally said you were even scared to join the team at first, but it turned out to be such a great decision. So what can you suggest to girls who are afraid to try something new because it's out of their comfort zone or they're scared of people's opinions? What advice can you give?
I would tell them to just go for it. Like the DWC program, I was really scared to come here, and I was so nervous before my parents left to drop me off and go back home. And honestly, you just have to do it. You just have to sign up, you just have to go, because there's always nerves in every type of situation. Maybe for some people there are, maybe for some people there aren't, but for me, I get really nervous. And I didn't know a lot of people going into the season for tennis, and I just did it, and it ended up being really great for me, as I told you before about the whole thing that happened with my friend. I really valued tennis, and I was scared, but it really helped me cope with what was going on.
That's really great that you could channel your emotions into something you love. So that's all the time we have today, but I hope this story motivates young girls to go out and try new things and meet new people. Thank you for being on the show today, Amanda.
Thank you so much. Hello, my name is Amanda Nadell, and today I'm here with Alex Battaglia. And today we're going to discuss her growing interest in art and how art is not only a creative outlet for her, but also a comfort for her in her highest and lowest times. Alex, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get into it. So can you please elaborate on how art became so important to you over time?
Sure. So I'd say that art was always in my life from the beginning. My mom is an art history major. She was always feeding me information. My grandma's an artist too, so it was always a huge hobby, and over time it became bigger. Last year I started printmaking and actually selling my own t-shirts. I ended up just putting out a Snapchat and having a lot of feedback of people saying they wanted to buy my shirts, so it kind of became more prevalent in my life. So yeah, it's just been growing ever since.
Wow, and how has art's significance changed for you over time?
I'd say it's definitely increased so much. It used to just be a fun thing that I would always go to whenever I was bored, but I'd say about last year and the year before, I really struggled a lot. I had a death in the family. I was hitting some really low points. I was really upset, and I realized how beneficial art was and how helpful and therapeutic it was for whenever I was feeling down. So it definitely has meant so much more to me in the recent years.
And what can you say to other teens who are watching this, or anyone in general, any advice that you would give about finding a passion?
I'd say whatever you gravitate towards when you're bored or when you have free time, it must mean something to you, and if it does, I'd say delve right into it, explore every aspect of it, and really just allow it to help you and just appreciate it more.
And how do you think that you're going to use art for the future?
It's a good question. Well, I'm here also for graphic design and learning more about that. I've thought of a lot of different ways I can combine art and a career. So I definitely think no matter what I do in the future, it'll have some creativity in it. And even if I don't have an art career, I'm sure I'll always be creating on the side. Yeah.
Wow, well, thank you so much for coming, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope everyone today can learn something really important about finding a passion and channeling that to help you or just to have fun. Thank you.
Today I will be interviewing Rachel Chu, a young woman born in America only to move to China at 6 months old. Rachel moved to China to learn more about her heritage and to follow a traditional Chinese path up until middle school, where she changed into an international school. Today, Rachel is in high school in Seattle, and she is here to talk to us about her journey. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So, I want to talk more about your family in China and how they shaped you. You said your grandparents were there from the start when you moved at just 6 months old. How did they shape you, and how much of an impact did they have on you growing up?
Yeah, I grew up under my grandparents on my mom's side, and both of them really emphasized the idea of embracing my Chinese heritage. They really try to teach me that no matter where I go, what language I'm speaking, and what people I'm with, that the Chinese part of me would always be my root, and that I should never take that for granted.
Right. So your family really helped you with your heritage and learning more about that. Would you say they helped you in any obstacles you faced? I know you went through a lot of transitions growing up. Was that more individual on your own?
I would like to say that because I've grown to be an independent person, because of the way my family structure is, I feel like it's more that my family was my support for me to get through my obstacles on my own. Because when I first moved to my international school, it was a brand new environment where everybody around me spoke a different language and had a different culture. And I really had to grapple with the idea of finding my own identity and finding my place in that community.
Right. So I'm sure, you know, growing up, being from two different cultures, you must have had like a lot of doubts about yourself, but what did you learn and how do you view yourself as a person now?
Right. I used to think that I didn't belong to either of the cultures that my family has given me the privilege to associate myself with. But now I feel like, honestly, both of the cultures I have or I identify with are my privileges. And I think it's really a great opportunity to be able to explore both cultures and find out more about myself that way.
Yeah, I'm sure that's pretty exciting to have. So would you say now you've been in Seattle for all of high school, would you say you crave change like you went throughout your whole life, or do you kind of like having a consistent path?
I'm definitely excited for more explorations. I like meeting new people and learning about different cultures, different stories, which is the reason why I'm in this program right now. But honestly, I feel like anything that isn't a journey that I've been through would excite me, whether that's consistency or new experience. I feel like anything that isn't something I'm familiar with would be very exciting.
Right. Wow, it's an inspiring story, Rachel. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you for having me today. Fluent in 6 languages, already an established reporter for multiple baseball magazines, Haley Anna Smilo is here to share with us her unusual learning journey, specifically how she grew up with dyslexia and ADHD. Let's welcome her. Hi, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, I want to ask you to use your own words to define ADHD and dyslexia for us.
Okay, so I would say ADHD means I struggle to focus to some extent, unless I focus on one very specific thing for a very long amount of time. It also means I have random energy spurts where I'm randomly energetic when I might not I'm supposed to be energetic. And I would say dyslexia on a base level means I struggle with reading, writing, and learning, and spelling. But I would say it's more than that because it partially makes me who I am because it's something I've had to deal with since the age of 4. So to me, it sort of gives me these nice abilities to have to work my way around having dyslexia, but also creates challenges, like I said earlier, reading, writing, spelling, things like that.
Yeah, just going off of what you just said, you said having these two learning, let's say, disorders have kind of in a way shaped you into who you are today. So I just wanted to ask you about how, coping with these two different learning disorders have changed your perspective on the world.
So first of all, I would say it definitely makes me have to look at things from a different perspective, because to be able to understand people or have people understand me, I usually have to think about things in different ways or figure out how to interpret things accurately.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it makes me work slightly harder because to be on an equal playing field as other people, I have to have certain accommodations, like extra time, a calculator, just different things that make me equal to other people who don't have dyslexia or ADHD or any other learning difference like dyscalculia or dysgraphia. I would also say it makes me learn to self-advocate because I have to tell my teachers, hey, look, I had this learning problem.
Mm-hmm.
You have to help me and understand that, if I'm asking you to repeat something or to whatever the circumstance might be, it's not because I'm not listening or because I'm not caring, it's because I'm literally struggling to function and process what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, like I said in the introduction, Haley here is fluent in 6 different languages, and honestly, that's a pretty difficult task or accomplishment even for people who don't have learning disabilities or learning disorders. So I just wanted to ask you about your journey of coming to master 6 different languages, because it's honestly a rare expectation. We wouldn't even expect rarely do we see people who are fluent in so many languages.
So, interestingly enough, I would say I haven't even thought about my dyslexia and ADHD as far as learning my languages goes, because the other languages I learned when I was a baby, because those are the languages my parents spoke and the languages my family speaks, so I was raised to have to speak these languages, or struggle to communicate with like my grandparents, my aunts, and my uncles, and my cousins, or learn the languages. So my parents made the executive decision, because I was literally 2 years old, to teach me the different languages.
Great. Thank you so much for talking to
Thank
us
you
today.
for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Bye.
Today I'm interviewing Owen Gund. Owen is the grandson of former Cleveland Cavaliers owner Gordon Gund. Similarly to his grandfather, Owen has always had a passion for sports. So Owen, we talked about your grandfather and how he was the former owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, but you know him as a lot more than that. How do you know your grandfather?
I know my grandfather as the man who is defined by what he can do in life, not his limitations.
Right.
And him being blind and still being able to fulfill his passions has really inspired me to do the same and not let the uncertainty of certain limitations hold me back. He tends to challenge the legitimacy of his obstacles by just going out there and just doing it, because you never really know what the consequences are going to be of something until you try. And I think the ultimate example of that is when he skis as a blind man, just full throttle, just right down that mountain, and he doesn't live with fear, and you can't live your life with fear, so it inspires me.
Obviously this season was great for the Cavs. Unfortunately they didn't win, but they did win the 2015-16 season. What was that like for you and your family?
Yeah, I mean, we'll always have that one, right? I mean, the Warriors are a three out of 4 on us, but we got that one.
All right.
And they had a 3-1 lead, and they blew it, thankfully. I'm really happy that we were able to come back, and in Game 7, it was obviously just I just remember my body was shaking. I was so nervous. I was like, this is going to be another heartbreak. Like, we're going to blow this one. And then the final whistle just blows, and we're champions, and I'm pinching myself, and I'm like, is this really happening? And here's my dad as well. He's jumping up and down. My dad's not like the rambunctious type, but he's going all over the place. And even my mom, like, they're wearing horses on their heads for good luck. Very superstitious family habits. And we're just having a great time. Calling my grandfather, and he's just like jumping for joy too on the other end of the line. And it's a moment I'll never forget.
Speaking of your family, besides your grandfather, how have your mother and father impacted you?
My mother and father, well, they've always been very supportive of my dream to be a play-by-play hockey announcer, and obviously sending me to programs like the one I'm at right now. I'm just so grateful for that, and I think that they've helped me discover my passion for both traveling and watching sports by providing me with all these experiences that I will never forget.
Speaking of traveling, where do you think is the coolest stadium you've ever been?
Coolest stadium? I would have to say, I mean, being from Boston, I love Gillette Stadium and the Patriots. I think watching Tom Brady come out of that tunnel and get fired up and be like, let's go, it's just such an exciting experience. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Great. Thank you for being here, Owen. It was amazing talking to you, and I hope you the best in your future with sports broadcasting.
Thank you.